June 9, 2014. My name is Jason Bunn Parsons and I'm an autistic self-advocate. In this video, I want to talk about the specific occupational struggles that autistics have, which differ greatly from what the autism experts claim to be our struggles. And the reason for this is that autism is defined basically by how it affects us in our childhood. Okay, especially the issues that we struggle with going through school and that the teachers struggle with us, in order to be able to educate us, namely social skills, language development, so on and so forth. Okay, and so what these autism experts do is they turn around and they try to find these same issues in our vocational struggles. And the thing is, that's not the case, because school and vocation are completely different environments. School is an environment that's set up to equip you with the tools that you need to succeed in life. Okay. As far as our jobs, for the most part, there are some exceptions, but for the most part, most jobs, you're there to make your boss rich. Period. Okay, and if you don't make your boss rich, you're going to lose your job. Okay, and so the issue is, what do these bosses need in order to make money off of us? Okay, and when it comes right down to it, I've worked in construction, carpenter, electrician, so forth. I have worked in fast foods, and I've even done some assembly line work. Okay, and these jobs require no social skills whatsoever. What they do require you to be fast with your hands, okay? And that is a struggle that I have had, and I can point to the first time it became apparent, which was third grade, doing the times tables back in the old day when you actually had to write it out, by hand, instead of multiple choice, no, you actually had to figure out what it was and then write the answer out by hand, and we were given a time limit to finish this test, and I rarely got halfway done, with the test, before the time was up, where other students were getting close to, if not completely finished with the test. Okay, the one exception was the one time that the teacher got called out of the room for a couple minutes and didn't get back in time to stop us, and so I actually got the entire test completely done with 3 times the amount of time to do the test. Okay, or at least twice, I forget, but anyways, bottom line is that I could have pointed to this as the earliest example of me being slow with my hands. 7th grade social studies class, taking notes. Okay, the teacher would have 2 chalkboards filled with notes for us to take, and so he would go through and he would be elaborating on everything while we would be taking notes. And so by the time he would get done with the second chalkboard, he would then go over to the first chalkboard and say, okay, is everybody done with this so I can erase it? And I'd be like, no, and it would be like several minutes before I finally got finished with that first chalkboard. Forget about the second chalkboard, and by the time he got to the second chalkboard so he could erase it in order to write more on, I was even further behind. And after a while, my classmates would go, like I was, interfering with their ability to get educated. It wasn't my fault. I was writing as fast as I could, but the problem was I'm just not fast. 8th grade typing, again, one of the slowest typers in class. Okay, oh, well, that just means you're not going to be a secretary. No, actually, me being slow with my hands has ramifications to a lot more jobs than just simply secretarial work. Okay, and another issue is fine motor skills. Okay, very apparent whenever I would try to play softball, especially trying to play softball. when I just couldn't hit the ball out of the infield. I couldn't get the ball past the pitcher. Okay, and well, that just means you're not going to be a baseball player. And well, no, actually, poor hand-eye coordination, motor skills, so on and so forth. There are a lot of jobs that require this type of job skills. Okay, that assumes that you have that you're average in these areas, and if you're not, you're going to struggle in those jobs. And so, whether you got the autism label or not doesn't matter. The issue is, do you struggle with these specific areas? Okay, if so, then basically you should probably start in junior high as far as developing a vocational strategy, for that student. Okay, I know that normally, probably not till high school, but you know what? I would say, because of the fact that we do have more difficulties, that people typically don't have, that we should probably start trying to identify these issues and trying to figure out what occupational options, to steer the autistic in, so that way they don't become like me, where I graduated from high school and I decided that I wanted to, go and build orphanages in third world countries, and I thought, okay, well, I'll go to Phoenix Job Corps in order to develop carpentry skills. Okay, sounded great in theory, except for the fact that that is the worst vocation for me because it involves so many of the areas that I'm deficient in. Okay, and so so in any case, that's examples in my own personal life. Another issue that autistics deal with is what's called executive functioning, organizational skills. Okay, going back again to me working in construction, a lot of times the foreman will say, okay, I need you to do this, and this, and then leave you alone for an hour, and you've got to try to remember all this information. And the foreman isn't going to stand around and wait for you to write notes out, because most people don't need that. Okay, and basically, if you're, if you're, basically, he can replace you with somebody who doesn't need to write everything down, who can keep all that information. Okay, that these foremen, they've been in their vocation long enough to know what the average person could be, what can be expected of the average person, and if you're not able to do that, then you're a liability and you're out the door. Okay, that is the reality of the workplace. Okay, and they don't want to be babysitting you. Okay, another example, I was talking to the manager of one of these fast food restaurant chains and discussing this particular issue, and one of the major issues that he brought up is the ability to process information. Okay, that they have these big screens that the orders go up on, and you have to translate all these abbreviations into what the food is, what the order is, and then go and be able to prepare and prepare it. And so basically, he said that he's hired a number of people with disabilities over the years, and didn't specify what disabilities that they had, but only that they had various disabilities. And the problem that they had was that they could not process the information fast enough. Okay, and I'm not just talking about from the standpoint of the boss's expectation. When you're talking about fast food, you're also talking about the customer's expectation. Some of these customers aren't very nice. Okay, and as the manager said, some of these customers, they think that they need to make a big scene in order to make sure everybody knows how unhappy that they are in order that they can get better service, and picturing an autistic being subject to that, forget about the boss. I'm talking about the customers. Having an autistic subjected to an abusive customer, that the boss has to kiss up to, because the customer is always right. That's the motto of any successful business, is the customer is always right. And and that would be a very abusive situation, in what would otherwise could possibly be a good work environment, because the fast food restaurants, that specific one they have in mind, one of the assistant managers has an autistic son who's about 8 or 9 years old, and so if there was an autistic there and somebody ever, one of the coworkers ever, started mistreating them, I guarantee you this mom would get all over that employee. Okay, but that mom can't do the same to the customers. Okay, that's just simply the way business works. And so, when we're talking about why autistics struggle, okay, you need to look at what each of the specific vocations require, okay, and what ones autistics can specifically excel in, okay, and right now I'm coming to the 11-minute mark of this video, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut this off at this point, and then I'm going to resume this subject on the next video of what jobs do suit autistics to a T.